Hi, welcome to the Village of Buchanan, March 4th, 2025 board meeting. We have a lot of Buchanan Engine members here this evening. I'd like you guys to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I want everyone to know that Bob Wheeler is on Zoom this evening. Hi, Bob. Glad you could join us.
Hi, Bob.
Hello.
Bob, how you feeling, Bob?
Good.
Good.
Okay, first on the agenda is approval of minutes, January 7th, 2025 special meeting and board meeting, and also January 28th workshop meeting. Do I have any comments, questions?
I have nothing. I'm good.
We're good? All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Comments from the floor, agenda items only. And just as a reminder to this, for any time we hold a meeting, the amount of time that people have is 3 minutes. So, and I also want to make one other comment, Mr. Bell. In case of emergency, please use the emergency exit over here or use the stairwell behind the elevator. Never use the elevator. All right? Thank you. Mr. Bell.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, board members. Full disclosure, I'm here as the acting president of Trinity Bosca Bell Church, Henry and Church Street, and has just come to my attention around 4 o'clock today that you guys are interested in doing a lot of road work on Church Street. And I just came down really to clarify a couple things. When I talked to Marcus, as soon as I found out, he said that there was comments about children running wild down there. And that's just not true. Those kids are 2, 3, and 4, and their parents walked them to the front door, and they wait at the front door to bring them back to the car. There's no like, the only time there's ever kids free, and it's usually with the parents, they're up on the hill, corner Lindsay and Henry Street. But that's supervised. That's not kids running around in between cars and stuff. So I want to clear that up, number one. I don't know how in-depth this project is. Like I said, I just found out about it a little while ago. We need to keep Through the Looking Glass involved with our church as they want to stay involved with us. We don't want to see where their parking is going to be taken away or anything like that because, obviously it's a two-way street. We need them, they need us. And they've been there for over 20 years, and there's been no problem. I grant that at check-in time in the morning, there's some cars there for 15 minutes, okay? They're not parked there for an hour to drop their kids off. 'Cause they're little kids. They don't want to sit in a car for 45 minutes. So they're in, out, the parents leave. They don't come back till like noontime. And then there's getting out, and then an afternoon session takes place. So I don't know what this project entails. Could somebody enlighten me what you're thinking about doing here?
I'm going to have George Palmer go over it.
No problem.
If you don't mind, George. Sure. What the thought was.
Try the other one. That's the
one way.
do the first one actually.
I gotta go back to.
There we go. Yeah, if you could blow up the top one. So what we're looking at is this is actually showing the two-way that we discussed. But this can actually be made one-way. You can make it one-way going towards Henry. That's what we talked about at our workshop meeting. There was a discussion that even if you did it, and we were illustrating this one because if the one-way didn't work, you could turn it back to two-way. So people like Mr. Bell or someone else came back and they said, hey, I don't think this one-way is really working for us. All right, you have the opportunity to turn around. So to make it two-way again. Or we also talked about during certain times of the day, between in the morning and the afternoon when it's the busiest, make it one-way then. I talked to Phil Greeley. He's done that in the past. He's seen it done in the past. Matter of fact, he gave me an example down in Pelham, same kind of example where there was a school. School was at one end of the street. They have
Skill has it too.
Peekskill has it, so it's not uncommon. So this design, it includes curbs, it includes sidewalks. The sidewalks are in front of the church to help it make it more organized, so that people can walk around the church without walking through the grass. And we were going to break this up. We're going to at the last meeting we talked about, let's put it out to bid and see how the prices come in to see where we're at with budget, because it was roughly 300,000 for the base, and then when you added the curbs, it was close to 400, and then if you add the sidewalks, it's a little more. So we were going to do those as alternates. That way, the board can decide when we get the bids back what we want to do, and that we'd have a budget for this upcoming year. So that's pretty much it.
So that was concept one, and then.
So that diagram that
This was
you,
concept two.
I'm sorry.
Let's stick with one, because
Oh,
that's,
fair one?
that
Okay.
has the sidewalk on the side of the street that if somebody wanted to park, let's say at Village Hall, and they wanted to walk up to an event at the church, they could walk up there and use the parking that's in front of Village Hall. Gives the church a little bit more ability to do that for
Okay.
certain events.
So I'm seeing on that diagram, coming in from Tate Avenue, you're going to run the sidewalk on that side of the road till you get by the nursery school? Am I reading this wrong?
All the way up, wrapping
here.
around to the nursery school,
Right here.
and
that's
all
on
the way up
Henry
to-
Street.
to the
And it's right here.
existing.
But it'll be on the nursery school side for that part of the segment, right?
Correct.
Do you know approximately how long that is?
500 feet,
500
500 plus, maybe 600 feet.
Okay. And I know you've been talking about putting restrictions on parking on intersections, like 30 feet or something I had heard. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, that would impact their drop-off situation at the church for the school.
So the thought is that somebody could queue on Henry Street, and you see that long strip?
Yes, I do.
Right in front of where it's hatched, in between the two hatched areas?
Yep. Yeah.
So cars could pull into there, unload their kids, and then pull through the hatched area, go out towards Tate, and keep on going. That's the thought process.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. I didn't see that to pull in the first time I looked. But
Do you mind if I come up with him as I'm
This is-
starting through the looking glass?
this is
Absolutely.
Alice Rivera. She's
And we're talking about, this whole thing, and we have the,
she's in charge of the
I'm the owner and director.
Director.
Of Looking Glass. You don't mind if I'm here with you, right? We're kind of a united team here. But I think the thing is too, is that you're not understanding how the drop-off pickup situation works, and that's like a big piece that's missing. So it's kind of hard. So it sounds like, yes, they're coming around the curve, but there's parking going on the other side of the building as well. One side of the building, which is Church Street, is 2-year-old and 3-year-olds getting dropped off, but on the other side is a whole other drop-off situation occurring where there's more of a parking lot on that side for the 4-year-old students. But it seems in theory like, yes, it's going to flow and move. You're going to create a bend of traffic around that area where people are parking and then they're trying to get around each other, and I think you're going to create more of a congestive situation, and that's just from my perspective of working and being in that school for 13 years and running it for the past year and a half. I see that street every single day. It's right outside my classroom. So it's not a busy street overall. Yes, during our times, you have people moving and flowing with children being dropped off to us very safely. No children running around. I'll second that. Parents just bring them right to us, drop them off. It's a quick and easy process of 15 minutes long. The sidewalk situation, I mean, I don't know how much it benefits the street or the church to have the sidewalk there. I mean, to me, it's just going to take up space on that road, and then we're losing parking for us, and we're part of your community. We have 85 students right now, and it's growing. And a lot of them are your Buchanan little preschoolers. So
Yes,
just
a
keep
lot
that
are.
in mind. And, you know, our first priority is to keep them safe too. So I know that I'm sure you have other things on this agenda that move past just the school, but, you know, we're primarily the ones using that street day in and day out. You don't get a lot of traffic on that street. Besides our friends, the Buchanan Police, if any of you are here, we love you because they're always protecting us. So again, we just don't get a tremendous amount of traffic there. So the one-way, two-way street thing, I mean, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make.
Oh, if I may.
Yeah.
So right now, people come off of Henry, and do they pull in front of the building, and then they let their kids out?
They park to the side, either on one side that's close to our building or on the opposite street if they're coming from that way. You have people coming from different directions, especially on that street. So some of them park in that direction towards the stop sign, and some of them are parked on the other direction towards the other stop sign, heading towards the tape. So you have people coming from both directions, just depending on what side of town they're coming from.
Okay, so they're unloading on, next to the wall and next to that area and on the other side?
They're taking their children out of the car, walking straight to the door, hand in hand with their child, not a far walk. Bring them to a teacher who's right there at the door to help guide them in, and then back to their cars they go.
Okay.
And off they go.
That's quick.
And then by 9, and literally, like, I'll give it the window of opportunity if we have any conversations at the door with parents, which do, of course, happen. 9:20 is going to be the latest time that we're going to have any real sort of congestive parking situation. If even congestive, I wouldn't even say that. But if there was any point where it's more cars than normal, that's the point. And then once we're done, that's it until the dismissal process starts again, which is 11:50. And it starts all over again for 15 minutes. And then it's done. So.
Thank you for coming in, for
No,
your,
well,
with
I
your
mean,
viewpoint.
you know, this is we had no knowledge of this, absolutely none. So I was caught up a little bit off guard today, just being hit with this, because it does impact the school. Like I said, we have 2 different entrances, and it works the best because we have different stages of children. The 2s and 3s come in that side because it's the closest to the classrooms. It's the easiest point for them to be guided into the building. The 4-year-olds are on the other side because they can walk in more independently with us. But it's a working, moving process, but it's been that way for 20 years, and it works beautifully. I'd hate to see it change.
Okay, and I also want to clarify something, Mr. Bell. I was the one that did say, I did go down the road several times, and it is very tight. It is very narrow when people are dropping their kids off. And yes, I saw people holding their children's hands, but you know how kids are, they get all excited, you know, they're going to school, and, you know, sometimes people get distracted. So it's a very, to me, I think it could be a dangerous situation. And then also, as the parents are opening the doors, you have to stop in the road. There's no way you have to wait until they go through, because it's just that little narrow strip. I have seen the parents holding the children's hands. So when we did discuss the road, we also, I had mentioned what the width of the road was. So I'm always concerned when we do curbs or sidewalks, it seems like the road gets narrowed. And then if that happens, then you're only going to have one side of the street parking.
Which is going to create more traffic.
Yes, and then you're right, it will bump around to Henry Street, and
Absolutely.
you'll
And-
have a traffic jam.
And to your point, I understand what you're saying. It can get busy, and things do get busy in the morning with the kids, and kids can be unpredictable. However, at the end of the day, again, this is just my humble opinion, watching that street, it's a very slow-moving street. There's not usually traffic other than through the looking glass parents coming through, and they're mindful and they're watching. The other side, however, the Henry Street side, we see people flying through that section all the time.
I would have to
And-
agree with that.
Yeah, it's that's the scarier part for me, is watching that back end, because
And
that's the side I'm usually on,
That's
and
the-
I watch that.
That's the side that scares me, and that's where I've seen some situations that just, was a little
Understood.
alarming.
Understood. Yep.
Because people park however they want to park too over on that side at times. You got people pulling over to the side by the stone wall that before you get to the stop sign, and you got people pulling over by where the clothes drop is. So,
Well, that's a parking lot.
I understand that.
Yeah, that's a parking lot.
So we're not looking to hurt you, because
Right.
I know your school has joined in for our Christmas tree lightings, and, you have been part of our community for a long time. And there are a lot of Buchanan residents their children do go there. So we're just trying to make it as safe as possible, because it was kind of a scary situation, what was happening. So narrowing the road is not an option. I don't know, George, he's our engineer, the board, I don't know what other board members' thoughts are.
Okay. I just hope that you remember to dial us in when you're making the final decision, because, again, it was the first time we heard about it.
Was that
And
when I
it-
came
it's
to
a-
see you?
I'm sorry?
Was that when I came to
Yes,
see you?
yes.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah. So,
And by the way,
of course.
thank you for meeting with me.
No, of course, thank you.
And George can probably shed light on it too. We want to make sure when we redo that road over there that it's done the right way. Okay, because it's in need of repair at this point. It's breaking up.
Understood, and also, that's all part of something that I hope moving forward in the future, if there is a plan to do any changes, any work, that we are dialed into that, because that's going to change what we're doing in that moment when that's happening. It affects us. It's
And-
not just an easy solution, it does affect us.
And George can chime in, but whenever we go to repave a street in this village, every year it comes up, whether it's curbs or not curbs, right? And George can shed light on why we decide to go with curbs or not go with curbs. But,
Correct.
Well, the reason the road is breaking down is because of everybody pulling off the edge of it and breaking the asphalt. So our determination through George was to put curbs and sidewalks to make the road, give it some integrity. Okay, now, Gary, you're the president over there. You don't think the aesthetically, it's actually a beautification project if you look at it. So curbs and sidewalks, you don't think that it would aesthetically make that area look better?
I think it would, especially where the sidewalk is, you're showing it on the plan there in front of the church building. There's there's right of way there for the village, so you could push that back further towards the building, the sidewalk. And then you would still have some ample parking to drop off their children.
Well, like I said, this is basically a beautification project, and it's in your benefit.
Yeah,
And
I'm
if-
not arguing that point.
No, it's in the school's
Yeah.
benefit, it's in your benefit. Children can get out and walk on a safe sidewalk with a curb protecting them. And that's what our objective is here. I understand that it gets congested if we have an ability to bump the curb back a foot or two, then I think we should look into that, but we have an easement there, and our whole objective here is not to hurt the school or the
Right.
church. It's to
Right.
make it look nicer and safer.
And nice is beautiful,
Yeah.
But the
but,
sidewalk and curb will make it look a lot nicer.
but
And
I'm
it
just
will
gonna
make it
let you
safe.
know too, to just keep that in mind, with that beautification is going to come a traffic problem.
And when the school is not there any longer, what do we do then? Say you decide to pick up and leave in 3 years.
That's not gonna happen as long as everything stays nice and easy peasy for my drop off, and,
You just
I
have to have a
mean, you
vision,
know?
that's all. We have to
You know,
protect
I
the
mean,
village.
no, these, there's no threats here. It's not about threats. It's just like, we've been doing this for 20 years and we've never heard a peep about this. This is the first time we're hearing about it. So forgive us if we're a little caught off guard. It's just this school, this is a moving, working thing. So beautification is wonderful. I'm all for beautification, But I also just want to bring to your attention, it's going to create a traffic problem. And if you're going to be willing to help us with that traffic problem, because they're going to go around that corner and you're going to be having parents waiting to be able to pull up because now it's a one-way road because you're going to shrink it. So it's really going to have to become more of a
Well,
one-way
if
road.
it's one way, it's not really getting shrunk. It's just the sidewalk. You're getting your you're
But
losing 5
I'm
feet.
losing parking, so I'm losing this strip of parking on this side.
But if it's one way, you're gonna maintain the parking.
You're going to allow them to park on both sides of the
No,
road?
not on both sides, on one
But
side.
then
How
I
can
lose
you-
parking.
Well, then, I mean, we have to maintain the
But
integrity of the road.
I'm explaining
I mean,
that
you
if I
guys- you
lose
have to
the
work with us as much
parking-
as we have to work with
And
you.
I'm willing to work with you, but again, like, I'm bringing it to your attention
Yeah,
because
we
it's gonna be
appreciate
a real
that.
problem.
No, but we have to go back and look at it
And
and
you're gonna have
readjust.
traffic going around that bend because all those people that are parked on that strip now, they're gonna be in a line behind the people waiting for each person to essentially come to the door, drop off, go to their car, because that's what it's gonna become. It's gonna become like this waiting process of them to pull forward, inch up, park,
And what is it
drop
now?
off.
It's not the same now?
They're on both sides, and they're taking their children out of the cars, walking right to the door across the street, and dropping them off to us.
So
and
if there
going
was
right back
500
in.
feet of sidewalk there and they all came in off Henry Street and they all pulled passenger door to the curbside, safe, that wouldn't be accommodating?
What, for us, so we're going to the car now and pulling them out of the car, is that it?
No, you don't have to pull them out of the car. They could park on the curb line, get out, get their children out, walk down the
Right,
sidewalk
but
safely.
it's not all happening simultaneously. You have a group of parents who are going to be able to park on that side, and yes, do as you're saying. But what I'm saying is right now you have the whole other side, of people parked who were also able to just kind of swiftly move them into the building, so they're coming in one fell swoop. So it alleviates all the congestion in the
So if
long
some
run.
maniac comes flying around that corner off Henry Street.
They
and
don't,
there's-
no, that's.
Okay, so
that's-
maybe it does happen one day, right? So if they're curbside, I'm done. You guys are good. You guys are good. I'm good. I'm just trying to
Nobody's
explain-
arguing with you.
No, we're just trying to do a safety portion of it. That's
I
why we brought it
understand
to
the
you.
safety portion of it. I
You
do.
don't understand the safety portion of it.
I
you don't.
do, thank you.
Okay.
So I think what we're looking for is an improvement and also for it to be functional.
And to just be dialed into what's going on.
All right.
Considering
And
again
thank
that
you
it's been
to-
brought
to
to our
Awilda.
attention today, so we're doing the best we can with
I'm
the
glad-
information that we have.
Yeah, well, no, because we want to continue the communication, and Awilda is the liaison
She
for
was
the
lovely.
schools.
She was lovely.
So
Thank you for
she'll
stopping by
continue
today.
to work with you and then report back to the board, or you're always welcome to come to a board meeting, always.
Well, now that I know we're
Yes.
part of a situation,
Apologize.
I will be.
Okay.
I think you just want it to be practical. That's it, right?
For everybody
And
involved.
aside from being safe, of course, but you want it to be
Well, of course
practical
I want
for
it
the
to be safe.
drop-offs.
I have 85
Absolutely.
preschoolers, so to even suggest that I'm not about safety is really just upsetting. But thank you for
No.
taking the
I'll
time
keep
to
it
listen.
posted.
Last question I have. This project's on a state grant, right?
No.
No, it is
No.
our annual road project.
Church Street's in need of repaving.
It was part of our paving program
I
this year.
get that, but B says discussion on state grants. Is that for a different area?
That's something else.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, my fault.
No, that's
I
okay.
didn't know if
Good
that was
question.
tied into that.
Mayor, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sure, absolutely, Marcus. would
Quick
like to-
question, since all this started because we had to repave the road, is there a certain time of the year that you guys are closed to try to minimize their effect on
We're
your
closed
school?
in August,
Just 1 month?
just 1 month.
That would be the time to get it
And
done.
please keep in mind this. The drop-off.
George,
and
keep that in
pickup
mind.
Is 15, 20 minutes max. Now, I know there's a lot of cars there. I'm not arguing it. It's been like that for 20 years. And thank God we've never had any problem. And I don't foresee a problem because there is no kids running around. They're not. They're just
And
not.
on
It was
top of
brought to
that,
my attention by the mayor. I didn't know that this was going on. And George came to us, we have to pave the road. How can we make this done properly? And he had an idea, and we all thought that it was a great idea because it benefits the church, it benefits
but did you ask us about it? Did you
Well,
talk
we
to
own
us
the
about
street.
it?
We own the street. So,
But do you own the building that the children are
no,
coming
but we
out
own the
of?
right of way for the sidewalk too. So we have to determine what's right and what's wrong. And now that you're here to come and talk to us, that's great.
Well, 'cause
That's
we
great.
know about
'Cause-
it.
Well, Wilda didn't come down there on her own. We discussed that she would come talk to you.
Well, I volunteered.
Like a few hours before the
volunteered.
meeting. You know, I mean, I'm just asking for a little bit more communication.
So I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Before I came to see you, I did meet with the chief. I looked at some videos that he had when his cars are patrolling up and down the street when students are being dropped off then picked up. And I have to side with you in that I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. The children were brought in safely, quickly, and the road was not congested. And I was going to share that tonight with the board, but I'll say it now. So after speaking to the chief, I felt that that was a good time to come meet with you. And again, I thank you for meeting with me at the last minute. You showed me how you dismissed. We looked at the road together, and on my behalf, I can say I didn't see anything that would be extraordinarily difficult in terms of drop-off and pickup. Okay, so I hear what you're saying. I also hear what Anthony's saying, and I think we just got to find a happy medium,
And
that's
I
all.
appreciate you coming down to take a look at it and to dial me in.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm asking.
And I will keep you posted.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you for coming, and I know we went over the 3 minutes, but it wasn't a comment, it was, we had to have a discussion, and fortunately, our engineer is here this evening that we can, so he kind of, understands what's going on better now.
I'd like to reiterate that the design that we have gives you the most flexibility to, like we said in the beginning, to change things if things come up, if there's concerns, you have it one way. And then we're not losing width of the road, and that was good to hear today that we could push it a little bit closer to the church if need be to regain. If we're losing anything, maybe it's a foot, maybe it's 2, but we have a lot of options once we put this in. It's not the end of the dialogue, so.
Mayor Lisa Wentz has her hand raised. Do you want her to speak?
Lisa? Yep.
Okay, Lisa, you can speak. You can unmute yourself. You're still muted.
Am I, okay, I'm good. Hi, as a former nursery school director, I really want you to listen to this woman because she knows her children and she knows what she needs in her school. I think this is really important. The details of a drop-off and pickup in an early childhood setting are really detailed. And I need you all to listen to her. This is really important. That's all I can say. So consider this. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, but I thought this was very important. And I think you need to listen to what she needs to say.
All right,
Right.
thank you.
Thank
you. Thank
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So George just paved the road.
Oh,
Basically all we can do.
You go, and Bob Wheeler mentioned this too, that, you go to pave the road and you started out the discussion, curbs, no curbs. It always comes up. You mentioned it. It's a beautification, it's a circulation, it's a traffic improvement, it's a safety. You like to do all those things when you come in and do an improvement. So now's the time. And like I said, there's flexibility to modify this in the future. So you're not locked in and you say, oh, it's one way and it'll never turn back. You can change it, observe how it works once it becomes one way, or turn it back or put restrictions on it. It's not.
No, it's an easy fix. It
Yeah.
just needs the dialogue needs to be changed. But I don't personally believe we're shrinking the road
I don't
that
think so.
much.
I don't
And
think
you
so.
have the measurements, the exact
Yes.
measurements, and I've seen the drawing, and I don't think we're shrinking the road where it's going to affect any flow whatsoever. It's only going to make it better.
But if you make
And it's
it,
going to make the integrity of the blacktop last the duration that it's supposed to last.
but if you're making it a one-way, it does change the flow.
Yeah, but we made it a two-way and still, so even if it's two-way, so the way George drew it up, you have plenty of options
Yes.
on which way you make it.
So,
Yes.
so if you keep it a two-way and you put the sidewalks in, are you not shrinking it?
No.
Okay, so then why make it a one-way?
Um,
And now that we've heard the concerns about the daycare.
Well, we talked about safety, and then we talked about the parking. So there's actually another alternative where these people, they can park, if this circulation works out okay, they can park next to the wall, they can let people, it's just not formalized with paint as the other side of the street is. So we didn't formalize that side in this option, but they could essentially park there, still let their kids out, they still could do that.
And it could still be a two-way.
It still could be a two-way, but I would say give the one-way a chance and see how it works. And you can always, like I said, you got flexibility to change it. You can change the times, just in the morning, make it one way, and then the rest of the day, it's two-way, because like they said, the rest of the day, it's hardly anyone there.
So let me bring this up. The last meeting, we were talking about buying one-way signs and doing school hours only, and try that out at the last meeting. And DPW is buying the signs. So do you want us to put the signs up, one-way school hours only, or leave it the way it is? At the last discussion, that was the direction to go in that direction. But after today's discussion, should we not put the signs up?
You know, what I'm thinking, and Awilda did say something to that, is if we're going to do the one-way, then they can't park on both sides of the road, because how are you getting out of your car? So I'm trying to say, maybe the one-way now after this discussion is not the best way, because otherwise you're going to, I'm sorry, what was your first name?
Alice.
Alice. What she was saying is, if you're going to have the one-way, you might have the backup go on to Henry Street, where the four-year-olds are getting left off, because you can't, if you're going to go one way, you can't park on the left side, because how are you getting out of your car?
There was let me put the one-way
Because it's,
one-way
you
concept.
know what I mean? Because you're going to hit against the wall. But the other way, if you're going both ways, the driver opens the door into the road. That's.
I mean, it's been a two-way street, and the chief told me they have never had an accident on that street.
So-
And issues have not been reported. So if we don't have to shrink it and we can still put sidewalks and keep it a two-way street, then why are we making it a one-way street?
So this was the one-way concept.
Correct. So we formalized in this concept the parking on both sides. So you were going this way, you could park on either side. You saw the little hatched area there in front of the wall, so you'd have to stay a little bit away from the wall, and people could still get into the building across the street. But that's a little bit more formal. It seemed like the first option gave you the most flexibility to do whatever you want.
But we didn't have this narrative from Alice. We did not hear her concerns. And those are important concerns, because this affects her and her daycare tremendously. Preschool, I'm sorry.
Last thing for me.
Get up, Gary, please come up
One of
to.
you guys would just go down there in the morning and sit there and see how it works.
I agree, yeah, I did it.
That's all you need to do.
I've driven through, I haven't stopped to sit, so.
During the times of drop-off and pickup, it's good to go in luck. I agree.
My kids went there. So, my daughter Mia went there. Yep. And my son Rocco went there.
Yes.
So it's not that I'm unfamiliar with the drop off, and no, I never had a problem. Everything went smoothly. I just think this is a beautification project that we had the money for, and I think it would look great. And I don't think it's going to stop the flow at anything. I really don't. I think that it's all going to flow the same as it always does. And a little bit of adjustment for a little bit of a better looking aesthetically environment. We have the money to do it. I think, Gary, I thought you'd be pleased to have new sidewalks and curb in front of the church.
I'm not arguing that at all, but I just don't want them to lose their parking.
They're not gonna lose the parking.
Okay.
They're not. I don't see it. If you have to park on both sides of the road, even if it was a one-way, you could park on both sides of the road and exit the vehicles. You know what I mean? And then if after 9 a.m. or whenever the drop-off is, it goes back to the two-way. We're just trying to make it safe. Our concept to George was, George, find out how we can make this safe and pave the road and make it look good. And that was it. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're just trying to make it better.
I didn't come down here with the intentions of arguing about that. I just wanted you to know how the nursery school really works, or the looking glass, through the looking glass actually works. But you know how it works. 2 of your kids, 3 of my grandkids went there.
Actually, I think 3 of my kids went there. I think Simona went there too. So I'm not really sure. I was working all the time, but I did drop them off once in a while, and there was never any issues. And I know that the pickup, we dropped off in the front, and then the pickup was in the back at one point, and that worked pretty well.
So no signs?
No, I think it might be a little premature. And I think.
Okay,
yeah.
Scott is here. We want to make sure
So,
Scott
yeah,
here.
because I want to give direction to George so he can do the plans, so it can go out to bid, so we can do this in August, hopefully. And then my other question is the sidewalk. You talked about the sidewalk before. Now, you were talking about the sidewalk being not a curb, but flush to the roadway, like not,
We talked about that, and that is an option, but as Anthony had mentioned, it's an option, but it's probably not the most desirable because the key is safety. You know, even if you made it mountable, you want to have that distinction between when you pull off, you have something before you hit a person or a child or something, so
to
it's.
bump into the curb.
you bump-
Yeah,
you
mount
bump
the
into the
sidewalk is good, but it will break because people will mount the sidewalk with their cars.
They
Park
will.
on it.
And then you'll get damage. And plowing, it's the same thing. I mean,
Yep.
it just benefits everything.
So,
Okay, so the direction to George is to do not the original one we were talking about, but the one that was shown up here before that gives us flexibility.
correct. That one has all the flexibility to go one way, to go two-way with times of hours of changing, morning and night. That one's, it doesn't change your functionality, in my opinion. So,
All right, and
I agree with you, George.
thank you.
Doesn't change anything. Just makes it look nicer.
I apologize, we got into a lengthy discussion, but it was a discussion that needed to happen. So I thank Gary and Alice for coming in this evening
Yes.
with their concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what direction are we going in?
The direction that we told George to go in with the one that he was showing
The
up
first
there.
one.
The two-way.
The first,
Yeah.
the
Will,
two.
are you good with that?
With the two-way, yes.
Yeah?
Are you good with, is everybody good with that?
Yeah.
As long as there's consistency.
Listen, this all came about because the road needs to be repaved, and we were just trying to make it better, right?
correct.
So, we appreciated people's input. That's why we have these
Meetings.
discussions, and,
When was the last time, do you remember, George, that road was done? That's
Over-
gotta be way over,
Over 30 years.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
easy, easy.
So, it was time for this road to be done.
it's probably more than that.
I don't remember last.
Yeah, probably.
All right, thank you, George.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Nick,
Okay.
Nick has a
Oh, yes,
question.
I'm so sorry. Mr. Zachary, yes, please step up to the podium.
Just clarify the ground rules. I get 3 minutes agenda items only?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Well,
you.
that was a little, we went astray on that one. No, that's fine.
Well, we were asking questions, so.
So I think I need 3 minutes for 3 different items of a minute each. First, I just want to wish Trustee Wheeler a rapid recovery. Bob, I hope you're feeling better soon. Second of all,
He said thank you.
Thank you. Second of all, I understand you guys are picking a highway foreman tonight, and I just have the feeling that if there's somebody qualified within the department, Mr. Hesselgrave, I'm speaking of specifically, I would support him personally because I think that he's worked with the people, knows exactly what's going on, and I would like to see that come from within. It's something we have always done in the time that I've been on the board. It always came from within, and I'd like to see that happen again. And lastly, I watched the last workshop, and you guys were having a discussion about the rezoning of Indian Point. And that's something that before I left the board in 2021, I put together a draft. My objective was to get the conversation started. It did, and I'm appreciative that this board picked it up, went with the planner, worked out more details. But that's 4 years ago, and I know, having been on the board for 12 years, that things take time. They don't, and it can be frustrating. But I did know that initially we were talking about that parcel. And the point was to express in the zoning what it is we'd like to see there before everybody and his uncle started coming to us and saying, we want to do this, we want to do that. And I think that's still the most important thing. And the discussion was switching over to the sheetrock plant and the some of the portions of the property that, the nuclear portions that'll take a long time to clean up. And I'm just thinking, if you start to make a pizza that's too big, it's going to take a long time. You might want to, compartmentalize in order to get the most important parts done. The other parts may be important, whether it has to do with the other parts of the M2 zone. I'm not saying they're not important, but I'm saying perhaps compartmentalizing the most important aspects of it to get it done doesn't mean you can't go back and add an addendum to include the other areas, which you will need to do, or the board will need to do. So just a suggestion, because, that was generally my experience on the board. If I tried to do too much, I got nothing done. If I picked something and drove it home, it was more likely to get done. So, maybe just a thought. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you,
Thanks, Nick. Point well taken.
And then, Nick, also, the state, when this all happened, remember there was a gentleman, I can't think of the company's name now, but they did compartmentalize the areas like Area A, B, C, D.
Was it English?
Yes, that's who it was. Yeah,
Right.
so, no, I understand.
Well,
Okay,
maybe
understood.
there's something in between, but I think it's important to get it done. And you can just keep expanding the conversation and it'll take forever.
Thank you,
It's
Nick.
tough, it's not easy, there's a lot to consider.
I agree.
Because that was my point last week. I wasn't trying to attack David, but you were here when we hired David, and I was part of the board at
Yeah,
that part. And that's what my point was. What is taking so long?
Right.
We brought him in to do a job we had ideas that we presented to him, and we brought him in to do something, and then all of a sudden it became something else, and then something else.
Right, but that's came out of discussions and,
Yes.
Yeah.
and, like, well, does the board want me to look into that? And, so, and it's hard just to compartmentalize and decide. But, if your instructions to him are, let's get the most important parts done, and then we could review after that, he's got to follow your instructions. But, I think he probably took cues from the board,
I agree
I
with
saw
that.
that, and I understand where you were
agree
coming
with
from.
that.
No, it's been taking forever. Like,
Yep.
we wanted an objective on the property
Yep.
the 265 acres, you remember,
Sure,
that's
sure,
what we wanted to do, and
sure.
we haven't gotten anything yet. We haven't even gotten an
Right.
idea where we're headed
Right.
yet. And I know things change, and we've seen that.
Yeah,
We've seen it, and we've all expressed other ideas to him.
right.
but,
Well,
yeah.
it's also hard, the board has 5 opinions. If you start the process, a public hearing might get other people to express what they'd like to see. There were polls, when we did the LWRP, there were polls, and if you look at that, you could see what people, both from the area and specifically from Buchanan, expressed that they would like to see there. There is guidance from the public in that.
And you're still on the LWRP board, just so you know.
It's kind of I think the
been quiet. We're
LWP
waiting for
is sort of in
feedback from the state.
I'm not, and
That's what the
I-
holdup is there.
I guess I am, but I haven't really looked
Yes,
at
you
it in a while. Yeah.
Let you know.
But thanks for your input,
Chief?
Nick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm speaking tonight, Bob Outhouse, Fire Chief, Buchanan Engine Company. I'm speaking tonight on letter H, the determination request for the Buchanan Engine Company regarding the letter of authority. Sorry, Mayor, it took some time to get some of the extra data that I thought the board should have to make an informed decision on this. And some of it actually came in just after 4 o'clock today. But what I did send to each of the board members today was what the Buchanan Engine Company members as EMTs have done over the last, since 1989, responding to calls in the village. The last information I gave to you guys tonight was actually a FOIL request. We're waiting for the next FOIL request to come in from the county on response times. We do know that this page here that's colored that you have, it gives the response times of Buchanan Engine Company, the Medic, Cortland Ambulance, or the Mutual Aid Ambulance. I just want to let you know that in the last 2 weeks, the response times to the village on a mutual aid, and again, this is nothing against CVAC or any other ambulance corps. EMS is in crisis, okay? We all know that. I just spent the weekend in Geneva, New York with the Deputy Director of EMS for the state, and we discussed the problem. The problem is all over. They're trying to fix that, as you know, with EMS being an essential service. So we continue to push for that. But in the last 2 weeks, Mayor, I don't know if the board gets this information from anybody, but it took 43 minutes for an ambulance to get to this village one day and 46 minutes on another day. If Buchanan Engine Company is not there, there's no help for them. There's no help. And that's not any fault of CVAC, because that's just the way it is. There's too many calls all over the place. So with that, I do have another FOIL coming in on times of all the village responses, so we can look at those and say what's the best for the village residents. You know, we leave it to you, the village board, and the safety and the lives that we may not be able to save if we're not there. And we've been doing this since 1989. And when we leave, after the ambulance leaves, when we leave, we make sure that if the homeowner is there or a family member, that they're okay and, you know, they got all the assistance that they need. Some may need further assistance, and we try to get that to them. So, you know, if this comes out that you don't want us to do this, then I have to say that the Buchanan Engine Company can no longer respond to EMS assists unless requested by the ambulance who's on the scene, and that's when they get there. So that's, I don't want to take up all your time. I know you do have other agenda items to get through tonight. I just wanted to give you that data, and I do have more data coming.
All right, and Bob, thank you for the data, but this is a lot for the board to digest this evening.
And to make an informed decision, Mayor, I believe the board does need to look at that. And again, we're open to questions on it because it's the data we receive from 60 Control, which is the dispatch. I just don't want to put you, the board, myself, in jeopardy by somebody coming back 3 weeks from now and said, why weren't you there?
So I have a question for you.
Sure.
You said that you've been doing this since 1989?
Yes.
So why is it an issue now?
So Trustee Baez, the laws have changed and the protocols have changed in the state since 1989. When I joined the fire service in 1980, you could slap an O2 mask on another firefighter and you didn't have to worry about it. Today, it's a medication. Things have changed. For EMTs to give glucose, it's a medication. It's a tube. Me and you can give it to somebody, but when I have a certification, I have to have the right backing to do that. Narcan. Okay. O2 is the big one. Every chief's car has O2. Every fire truck has O2. Okay. It's a medication. It changed, and we have to change with the protocols. And that's the situation we're in today. And again, when I first approached you, let's dot the I's and cross the T's. Again, without this, we leave grant money on the table from the EMS side of the house. And, you know, obviously if the board goes that direction, we just have to look for money elsewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the two times you mentioned, the 43 and the 46, I would like more information on that. So I do see it, I did circle the times here and the dates.
Sure.
So,
Sure, if you go,
board
I
would
mean,
like more
again, I don't want to take your time, but if you
Mayor.
do,
yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
if you do, I don't want to take the time of the board, but if you do want to go through that, and again, we have more information coming.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, just correct me if I'm wrong. We have a contract with Buchanan Fire Department, Buchanan Engine Company, for fire and rescue, correct?
That is correct.
Do we have a contract with you for EMS?
We do not.
We don't.
Well, I guess, Dan, we'll have to look at the terminology of emergency response, because the emergency response is what the contract says, fire and emergency response. So what is an emergency response? I mean,
Fire and rescue. It says fire and rescue. on it.
fire rescue.
Yeah,
For fire rescue.
fire and rescue.
I mean, we don't need a
And I
contract.
don't know what a rescue. definition of that is.
Rescue could be, we've had people's hands caught in machinery. I mean, that's a rescue, but it's also an EMS call too. It's been working fine. It's been working fine. We work with the ambulance all the time, but just to get that agency number would give us that little dot the I and cross the T. And we can continue doing it. I mean, we're not doing anything wrong. It's not going to hurt us. Knock on wood, 1989, we've been doing this. No one has ever tried to file a lawsuit against the fire company for doing anything wrong. And the amount of time that we're going to be taking care of somebody is probably that 15, 20, 30 minutes, if that takes that long on that particular day. We're just comforting, administering the oxygen that we need, monitoring vital signs.
But this letter, okay, if I'm not mistaken, requires us to sign off on and take full liability as the Village of Buchanan,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
And we've pleased the board by the request of putting all that in our insurance documents to make sure that we're all covered. I mean, we've been doing it. I mean, what happens if tomorrow or last week something happened? Who would be liable?
So when you say we've been doing it, you've been doing it and you're not supposed to do it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, we just, when all these things change, we want to be brought up to speed and want to, again, that's why I brought it to the village. I said,
Right.
Let's do this right.
But
the right
how
way.
recent have these changes occurred?
These,
That now it brings concern to the table?
I have just, in the last year and a half,
Okay.
of the extraordinary changes for this BSFR number.
Okay.
And we just continued to do what we were doing until I said, listen, you know what, I'm the chief now, and we have to do it the right way.
Okay. And that's what the agency number will allow you to do it the right way?
Yes, and the agency number, yeah, I mean, all it is an EPCR. It's an electronic form, it's free, and we just document that we were there, okay, and what we did. We hand off care to either the medic or the EMT that comes with the transporting agency, which is Cortland Community Volunteer Ambulance Corps.
But just so that I can learn a little bit more, with the agency number, you'll be able to administer the medication that you made me feel that you're not supposed to be administering?
Correct.
Okay.
But we as the village take on full liability.
Yeah, I mean, the liability then we have anyway. I mean, if we live liability, then we might as well shut the doors. I mean, I'm not scared of liability. And I have faith in my 12 EMTs, believe me. Every one of these guys, there's 5 EMTs out here tonight. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Our understanding was that when CVAC comes out, they take care of the medical and the EMS, and they also transport. Our understanding is once they arrive on the scene, they take 100% of the liability.
Yeah.
So what we're concerned about is putting another layer of liability onto the village.
I think your liability ends when my liability ends, and when I'm the EMT and I'm performing with them not there yet, and I put somebody on oxygen, and I do my vitals, and they get there, the proper thing is to hand it off to the EMT or the medic, and as soon as I do that, the care is handed off. I document my care, who the patient was, and we're good to go.
So the documentation of the care, does that go to the ambulance corps? Because I'm understanding that they have not been receiving that documentation.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. In fact, over these years, they probably should have been putting our EMT numbers down for their liability, and they never ask. So they should have been, and again, I think today, or in the past, since this came up, CVAC had more liability than they knew of, than we did.
Here's my question too. Why would we be the only community in the county going this route? Nobody else is going this route.
Dan, I told you that there was 3 other volunteer agencies with corps in northern Westchester.
With what?
How many?
No, I said with what? I didn't know what you said.
Oh, the BLSFR number that we're going for? when I first presented it to you, there are 3 volunteer agencies, all in the north of the county. Golden's Bridge was one of them. Most all your combination career departments, City of Peekskill Fire Department, Peekskill Ambulance Corps Transports, they have a BLSR number. Their chief keeps asking me, how you making out with getting your number? Because it's something, they just go on EMS calls like we do, and they hand off to Peekskill Ambulance, and they go back to quarters. It's just an extra layer of protection for when that ambulance is slowed up or is not getting there.
Well, me personally, I think we need some time with this data, and to go through this. And I mean, we've talked to Cortland Ambulance Corps, as you know. They've given us their take on it. You've given us your take on it, and you know, I have to do what's right for the taxpayer, ultimately. And adding another layer of liability sounds like unnecessary, but so does not having the proper care. So it's tough to make this decision tonight with all this new data that we've got. And I mean, we all have to sit down and think about what route to go here. Because it's imperative that we make the right decision here.
Right.
I agree. I
and
agree with Anthony.
And I'm just going to tell you that I've spoken to our EMTs at the firehouse. I've spoken to the officers. And they said, Chief, why do you think the village board doesn't, rely on what we're saying? Do they not trust us? And I said, no, I don't think they don't trust. I think they just don't have the information that they need to make an informed decision.
Well, the information that we have between the two agencies doesn't add up, to be honest with you. And you all can agree to that. I mean, we've had,
I agree.
we've had an interview with CVAC, and they've told us, you've given us numbers on one job that you did, and they've given us a number on a job the same job, and it seemed like the numbers weren't the same, And they gave us reasons and detailed reasons why. I don't know who's right and who's wrong. I know, and you brought up the gray area. I still don't know what the gray area is. I'm still trying to figure that out. You want to talk about curbs and sidewalk? Great, we'll do it all night long. But, this is something I need to educate myself on.
What I'm picking up, and correct me if I'm wrong, the gray area that I'm understanding is that the laws have changed, and the medication that you were administering, at this point, you're not allowed to do so legally because you don't have that agency number.
So we had to get, because we have the defibrillator, the automatic defibrillators, which, I mean, every fire truck has one. Every chief's car has one. God forbid if, again, the ambulance is slow getting there.
Right.
We have them. And if say, the police have one, and sometimes they don't work, whatever, we have them. We have them. They're there.
And we
Okay.
have one on the second floor, too.
And we have them here. So, we have the equipment, but to have those 2 pieces of equipment, we need a medical director, which we had to get. Had to get a medical director to allow us,
We're gonna
but the
table
county says you're really in a
so we
gray
can talk
area when
further.
you're doing that. But we do have a doctor who is our medical director.
But help me out here so that it's clear to me, and I know this is what Anthony's asking. What is that gray area that you're speaking about?
So the gray area is that in order to go on EMS assists as a New York State EMT basic, okay, you need to be filling out a PCR. The only way you could do that is you have to have an agency number
Okay, so it's to fill out the form,
and cover the call, cover that we had patient contact.
but now the patient contact, is that the way you are approaching it? Is that in the gray area?
Yes? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I want it on record.
that is absolutely the first part.
Okay.
So what if CVAC comes to the scene and they don't agree with what you administered? I mean,
I don't.
I don't know. I don't
That's never happened.
I know it never happened, but we talked to them and they had their ways and you have your ways. I mean, this for me, there's something going on here that I don't understand.
Well, I don't
I
understand
think
either.
CVAC, not just you, the Buchanan Fire Department itself, like we got to all come together here and figure this out. The 2 agencies plus us. And I think that there's something there that we haven't figured out yet, and I think we have to figure that out, and then we can get our answer.
So, just so you know, when CVAC comes, they're wearing a patch that says New York State EMT. We have the same patch. We just don't put it on. We have the license in our pockets. This is, we're doing the same things. We're trained the same way. We get CMEs to train, to recertify. Thank God the state just changed that. It was a certificate. It's no longer a certificate. It's called a license. So now we're going to be licensed by the Department of Health, and they extended all the New York State EMTs to when you renew to a 4-year renewal. So we're all the same. We're all the same. They are a basic life support transport ambulance. We are basic EMTs. They are basic EMTs. They have employees that drive. We have volunteers, 100%, that get to the scene. So, again, I didn't want to take so much of your time, but I think it's
Well,
important.
I have one more question.
Sure.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but
Go ahead.
how many other villages, okay, that have a fire department that don't have an ambulance corps, that contract out to another ambulance corps, like we do for CVAC, actually give their fire department this number? How many villages are operating this way?
I don't know if there's many villages. There's hamlets. I think go back to Golden's Bridge was on the top. Maybe South Salem. And again, City of Peekskill has one. Okay, they are a career volunteer department. They have a number.
Well, I'd like
Mohegan.
to see what other villages are doing it.
The only other village I know, and Marcus may have worked down county, is the village of Hastings-on-Hudson is a fire department ambulance. So they have their number, but they have an ambulance. So they have a number for their ambulance. So their number is taken care of, but they have their own ambulance. And their population is probably about 7,000 today, I asked. So the setup, Dana, the setup that we have has been working, okay? It has been working. We're just trying to make sure that you, the Board of Fire Commissioners, and the Buchanan Engine Company are protected the way we should be. Okay, it's been working fine.
But you also realize that we have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers, right?
You do.
So the liability thing scares me. Okay, and I've said it.
Well,
We're signing off on a letter taking on full liability.
I understand. And you know what, Dan? I was worried too when I saw the letter, but we have liability in it. We all have liability every day. When I get in that chief's car and leave to go to a call, I have liability. Anytime these guys are out, I have liability. I have liability. I can't hide because we've taken the precautions to put it in our insurance, to name you, and to do whatever we can. And there was no change in the policy money to do that. So I understand, but I can't be afraid of liability, Dan. I can't. My fiduciary responsibility is to provide the village with the best fire protection.
I'm
and
telling you,
emergency response.
for us, it's a delicate balance. So I need more time on it, just like I think
More
everybody else
information,
does.
sure.
So
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course. So when we get to that, we'll probably table it because we've gotten more information, and you will also sent us an email today that none of us have been able to digest all this information.
And the last thing in that email, and I do have it there, just if you look in the email and open up, there was a hot map, we call it, that the county put out in 2022. And that hot map is because of all the mutual aid ambulance calls that were occurring in the area. If you look at the red areas, you'll see the red areas are all in our area, up into Peekskill, Cortland. That's what decided the county to go ahead and get a contract with AMR, which is a paid ambulance service, to try to push them into the areas that are having high mutual aid that day, so we can get ambulance coverage. And AMR has been to the village several times, as long as in Peekskill, Wems, and Osling. So they come, and they have to, right? Because we have to take care of the people. And again, it's nothing against CVAC. It's the day of the time that there's so many ambulance calls. And I just want to make sure the village residents are protected.
We do too. Don't think we do not. We do too.
I know you do, and it's
Okay.
my job to make sure you understand and have the information to take care of that.
Well, we now have more, and we do need to.
Thank you.
Go through it.
All right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chief.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. And anyone else for comments from the floor for agenda items only?
Just kidding.
Come on, Gary Bell. Stop playing with us here. Oh, somebody else? Yeah, I can't see that.
Hi, Tanya Drezick, Travis Avenue. I know that you're looking for somebody for Scott's position, and I hope that you hire from within. And I think that he's a good choice, and I just think you should hire from within. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now that the comments from the floor are done on agenda items only, let's move on to new business. So I'd like to make a motion, this is a continuation of a public hearing, so I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing regarding parking restrictions on intersections. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing is open, so I'm just gonna give you a brief overview. This has been open for a couple of months now, there's been a lot of discussion. I know trustee Stewart had brought this up, he had a concern on an intersection here in the village. Several residents have also spoken during the course of the public hearing about different intersections. And Dan, I'm gonna rely on you to, there's a list of intersections that, at one time there was talk about all over the village, each intersection, but I think that's been narrowed down to a few intersections.
I think we narrowed it down to basically the intersections along the Tate Avenue thoroughfare and the Henry Street thoroughfare, right? So you had Second and Henry, Third and Henry, First and Tate, Fourth and Tate, Lake Street and Tate. And also Nick brought up the end of Tate and Kings Ferry.
So,
Now, I will say this, over the weekend, okay, thanks to our police officers, the situation by me, closest to me, on First Street, where they were parking literally right at the bottom of the hill at the stop bar, Courtney gave them a warning that if they weren't gonna move the car, they were gonna get a ticket. That was Saturday morning, Sunday morning. So, I think more involvement by our police, maybe that'll remedy it. I don't want to see stop signs or any kind of signage up all over the place. I really don't. But, we've noticed, and even the first responders, Bobby will tell you, trying to get a piece of apparatus around one of those turns, God forbid there's a structure fire or a serious situation, they're not going to get through.
So when you say, I'm just, so we're all on the same page. So when you say the intersection of First Street,
Yep.
so it's a four-way intersection. So to stop parking on, because I just want to get this clear because we have to hand all this information over to Stephanie so that she could do a resolution. And not only that, we have to inform the public of, what intersections and what would be happening.
Excuse me, Dan. I think that Dan just said what we need to happen here. My personal opinion now, it's changed. I don't want signs all over the place either, but that's the only way you're gonna mandate it, is with signage. Signage is the only way you're gonna get it done. So if we don't want signs, then our police officers have to do it. It's a DOT law. You can't be 20 feet back from a corner. You can't park. It's a state law. And that's how we have to mandate it. And I think it should be on every single corner in the village. Isn't that what you,
No, when there's a crosswalk.
when there's a crosswalk? Okay, so
Or-
if there's
or
a
a
stop
stop bar.
sign,
If you put a stop sign.
correct, then it's 20 feet back. So the stop signs need to be in place, and then we can enforce that restriction.
But that's only on one side. So if you're leaving Village Hall and you're going down Tate
Yeah.
towards First, you could have a stop sign at that corner. 20 feet in front of that, no parking.
Right.
When you get through the intersection, where's that sign to keep the parking 20 feet? You can't have a stop sign right at the intersection. So that side
Well-
would need a sign that said no parking here to the corner, or, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the opposite side of the street, though, correct?
The opposite side of the intersection.
Well,
Go
going
right
up,
through.
so, okay, so if you're
No,
going
straight down
through
Tate.
to that corner, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, like,
You'd have
there's no way to
signs.
do, it's
No.
either we completely forget about this, or we get the cops to get involved, or we do everything, because I personally don't think you're gonna get anything done if you don't do the whole village. It's gonna be
Yeah.
hard to dictate.
And it's signs Because you're approaching an intersection, you can have a stop sign, that's great, 20
Yeah.
feet. So on the other side, when you're going the other way.
Correct.
right
No, I get what
before-
you're saying. After you go through the intersection.
That's a problem, what are you doing?
Then it
You'd
should
have
be
to
the
put
same
like no
thing.
parking between these two signs, or no
Yeah.
parking up here to the corner.
20
You're
feet
gonna
from
have-
every corner.
Right, from every corner. That's a lot of signs.
But if there's a stop bar at an intersection,
Stop bar, that's fine.
they can't park 20 feet from there. So it rectifies two of the corners,
Two of
at
the
least.
corners, right, yeah, so she's talking
Yeah,
about.
we're talking
so
about
the
two
stop
corners,
signs here.
too.
But that's not being enforced. Because you
Well,
have
yeah,
that
you have to
situation
enforce it.
on Tate Avenue at First Street going towards Kings Ferry,
Yeah.
okay? And you got it on First Street, you got it on the other corner too.
Coming the other way.
Yeah, because
But
they
then
park
as you
on
go
both
up First
sides.
Street-
The road's it's not wide enough. And, years ago, people just didn't really park on Tate Avenue. I
And
mean,
now everybody does, I hear, right?
More cars,
Well,
more
before there
people.
were restrictions on parking in the street, right?
Not on Tate.
No.
Not on Tate ever,
People wouldn't park on Tate. They would just wouldn't park on Tate.
but there were no restrictions?
No.
Also, I was very loyal, because when I moved here, I wouldn't park in the street.
Unless-
I thought I
unless there's a-
couldn't. I thought I couldn't.
Unless there's a sign, you can park on the street.
Ah, okay.
That's where we're gonna run into trouble. If we don't want signs, then we just have to forget about it.
That's correct.
You're gonna have a lot of
but I think we need to enforce the 20 feet rule on areas where you can.
But it's just on certain areas. Are you speaking about the entire village or just certain
No,
areas?
where you have a stop sign or where you have,
We have to notify the
marking.
public of the roads that we're gonna do.
Okay, yeah.
But that's why I think, in my opinion, you need to
Doesn't
get out there and
require
see
law.
who
It's-
has a
yeah, it's on the
crosswalk.
books.
Because then it's automatic. Was a stop sign, if any. I don't know your village. You might have 10 stop signs everywhere. That should be being enforced automatically because it's under the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law. If there's intersections that you don't have that, like what's the one by you were talking about by the group home? I don't even know what
The
roads
top of
these are.
Third and Henry.
Third and Henry and Second and Henry is it's sketchy going through
So
there.
if you put 3 stop signs up over there, then you eliminate that.
That's what it
corner.
appears like.
You
Or
clear-
you don't
you
do a
clear
left
up the
turn if there's a
corner at least.
particular,
I think the most dangerous
gotta look
part
at
of
it.
coming up Third Street is actually taking a left. There is just no
I would agree.
sight distance. There, you are taking your life in your hands if you're going to, because the cars are parked right there.
So by putting,
So-
by putting.
And
a
they're on
stop
both
sign, we
sides.
resolve that issue, or it's the
Well, they
cars
wouldn't be
going
able
on?
to park on
probably
the
too
corner.
Yeah.
Another option, because I've been thinking of this, is maybe no left-hand turn there. I don't know, and that would be put on the top of Third Street. I don't know, but it's a dangerous intersection during the day. That's when the group home people are parking there, and there's, that's where they park. So it's, because a
you s-
resident brought that up, Chris Mason brought that up to us. And then another gentleman, and I apologize, I forget your name, but remember down by Lake Street, another gentleman spoke at the last public hearing about that intersection there. Not parking vehicles just before Lake Street. Because there's no sight distance if they do that.
Yeah, or I can say in other communities, what they resolve, they were putting stop signs in certain areas, and just put a stop
It's
sign
gonna
in.
require signage to get this done right.
But at least a stop sign is nothing in the middle of in the middle of the
in the
block.
middle of the block, right?
Right.
No parking from here to corner.
Yeah, that
That's
gets
in the middle
I
of
mean,
eliminated.
it's only gonna be on one side of the road, but it eliminates the issue on that where we don't have a stop sign.
Correct, correct.
But this is a public hearing, and I'd
Yeah.
like to hear if anybody has any input.
Any thoughts from the public? Because it's looking like we're going to hold this over one more month until we get this down to a science here. Nick Zachary, long time no see.
Teresa, Mike, why don't you get the mic closer to you?
Oh, sorry, Mike. I'll put the mic closer.
Oh, I can't stop talking.
We noticed.
Would a painted curb suffice instead of all the signage? I mean, in terms of cost and in terms of, and then establishing it that in the village, you're not supposed to park within 20 feet of the corner, you think, would that,
We went through that, it cannot be enforced, it has to be a signage and all the DOT.
you can't
regulation.
enforce without
It has
that?
to be DOT regulation, you have to be a.
That's a lot of
sign
signs.
Or stop
Yeah,
sign.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
a crosswalk.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I was just saying to Eileen that years ago, there was something called common sense, but now that that's
No
gone,
more.
people will park wherever the hell they want. so.
That's not common. That's not common.
anymore. no.
Thanks, Nick.
Maybe we ought to get one of them signs.
Be
Common
courteous.
sense sign. Put them up all over the village.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we have to, I believe, look closer into this and target specifically exactly what we're going to do so that we can put this on a resolution.
Or just,
Or what would you
or
like,
just
Dan?
let it go by the wayside, whatever we decide. I mean, you know.
See, the only problem is the people that came to the public hearing and pointed out that there is an issue puts the village on notice. So the intersection at Third, the intersection at Lake, you know, now we're on notice that, you know, it's a potential dangerous situation.
If I may, I talked to the police chief as well.
Okay.
There's been no accidents, no
Yes,
complaints from
that's
anybody
true.
else. So even though someone may say it's a situation, the police chief has stated to me that he doesn't seem to be a situation.
There's been no accidents,
There's
yes.
been no accidents.
That we know.
Or complaints from the neighborhood to him directly.
Okay, but then on the top of Third, we did have a gentleman who lives at the bottom of Third Street who walks his dog. And
Chris.
Chris, and so he did point that out.
So a stop sign might be a good solution
In that
for certain
area,
areas.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's the easy, that's an easy solution.
No, I think on the top of Third, just put three stop signs.
I agree.
And that would give you some view, you know, and the car, and they have to stop, so, you know, it gives you you won't have to look around the car, you see the car, it'll be at the stop sign.
Well, let me tell you a story about Henry Street. In the summertime, I sit on the front porch and I go, for the corner of 4th Street, there's 3 stop signs there, and I go, that car is definitely not stopping.
True.
So,
There's a stop sign.
yeah, I know they're supposed to stop, but sometimes people cut through from Tate Avenue, they come up 4th Street and,
Yeah,
you know, to
To get over to
go
Lindsay.
further north, you know, the upper part of the village. So, I don't know, there's stop signs on 3rd Street, and then there's stop signs on 4th Street. It's like a block away. I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do on the top of 3rd Street.
Well, it's the only
I'm
way you're
just
gonna
saying.
stop this. There's no other way to do it.
No left-hand turn?
Well, I don't want to name the other municipality I was saying, but they put stop signs every single block to avoid this issue. And another community for the same issue.
But then that goes
Yes.
back to, there's a whole bunch of stop signs throughout the village.
Yep.
You know, so that goes back, there's a whole bunch of signs
Yeah.
again.
Yep. But it would be in the corners of the block,
Yeah,
not in the middle
in
of
the
the
middle.
middle of your yard, per se.
Yeah.
20, 30 feet back. So just want to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's always that's a solution in another community that they did. And I lived there, so I stopped,
And it
stop,
worked?
stop, stop.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At least the people do pay attention to it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Peekskill is one big stop sign. You can't go anywhere without having to stop one block after the next block after the next block. What does the fire department think about the entire village versus pinpointing certain intersections?
That's what I'm thinking of. Certain.
Because I haven't heard anything in regards to that, because I'm thinking of Burke Court. That's not a big street. So if you get, you know, but I'm just saying, I haven't heard anything from the fire department. I'm more in favor of the entire village, personally speaking, instead of picking certain places, because the fire department has to go to all places. And I think that that's fair to them and fair to the village residents.
So, to answer Eileen's question, we have spoken, the board and I and Chief Farrell, about the areas of concern. Obviously, First Street and Tate, Third and Henry are big issues for us getting the trucks around. I know the board has been working and talking about what they want to do. As long as, and we have been in the conversation, the fire department has been in the conversation. As long as we're in the right direction, those are the hot spots. I do get concerned on the tighter streets for parking on the side or both sides. I get a little concerned. You know, we're driving $1 million fire trucks now. We're not driving, you know, 400,000. We're driving $1 million fire trucks. It is tight in some areas, and you guys know where the tight areas are. You know where they are. So I know Trustee Capicati has mentioned several times, and Dan, about those areas. But those hot areas I'm concerned with is Henry and Third, First and Tate, So we are talking about it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks.
Okay, what is the board's pleasure? Would you like to hold this over for, until the next meeting, until we narrow it down, or would you like to narrow it down now?
I say we hold it over to the next meeting and have some more discussion.
Okay,
I agree.
and I think we should, I think next meeting, I think we should be ready to resolve it.
You're going to leave it open to the public for one more?
Yeah,
meeting?
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll leave the public hearing open. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to table, to adjourn the public hearing on this, adjourn, table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continue it to next
Continue,
month.
a
Yeah.
continuance. All in favor? Aye.
You were getting there.
Yeah, I was, you know. Okay, the next is a discussion on a state grant. This is a grant from Senator Harkam. It's $100,000, and we have chosen different items for this grant, and I think, you know, other opportunities came up, and I think the board is ready now to decide on this grant. So Marcus, would you like to?
Sure, if I ask Scott and
Scott?
Randy to come up, based on the discussion we had about the trucks, and Anthony came up with a great idea about a hook truck, and Randy has been looking at this for some time as well. There's some research, so I let him, if you don't mind, Mayor, let them speak about
Sure,
what they found, what the
absolutely,
options
yes.
are, and the benefits of it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, guys.
So if you could introduce yourself, gentlemen?
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and the board. My name is Randy Hesselgrave.
Hello, I'm Scoot Horton.
Scoot.
All right, so as we discussed in our last meeting, our initial attack for the $100,000 grant was doing that rack body truck, but kind of went on a different avenue there. We have this Ford this F600 now we're looking at with the hook lift, and we're pretty much, you know, we're going to be over the $100,000, but for $40,000, you guys are getting 3 trucks, pretty much. That's just a start right now. You know, as we put in the literature, thank you, Cindy, for that. We still have our chipper truck. We're still going to go with the rack. We would like to go with the rack body with the steel floor and with the lift gate and all that for our metal collection. That's going to make our life a million times easier. And then, you know, our regular steel dump body as well. So that's just a start.
Randy, why don't you talk about what all the other options, for the general public, since I didn't know what this was until Anthony brought it up, so the public can know how this works.
Yeah, as you guys can see in your pictures as well, there's, I mean, if you look up hook lift online, you'll see over 100 plus options. Let's see.
Why don't you describe what the truck does and what it looks like for the general public?
So what you're going to do is pretty much any bodies, any trucks you guys have seen on the road, the general public, you can switch out the back for something. You can switch out the back for like for the stake body we're looking for a dump body, for a chipper body, a landscaper body. Any we could hook up a spreader, which that's something I'd be very interested in the future for our cul-de-sacs, for our smaller streets, parking lots, all that stuff like that. Some of these accessories we could drop at job sites. We could drop one, and then if we have a metal collection going on, as Cap and I talked about on the phone, guys will have a whole trailer on site with them being able to fix the catch basin, and then we could send guys out to collect metal for the day. And then at the end of the day, come back, you know, collect that body, and we'll be on our way. So a lot of efficiency here. As you see in the paperwork, less drivers, with a smaller garage like we have, you know, it'll be very efficient for us. So.
All right, thank you. And I like the idea that it's got a snow plow. You know, you can do a snow plow, a salt spreader, so it's a multi-purpose vehicle, which is a wonderful thing.
So we're at a point, just to let the board know, we discussed different options. As the board knows, it takes a while to get things approved through the state. Even though we got a bid price now, we don't know if how long that state price will hold. So whatever the board decides we want to do, if we want to go in this direction, I got to apply for the grant, hopefully it gets awarded. We can't even order the truck until we have the same contract with the state. So we had that issue when we had the first $100,000 and how long that process takes. So I just want to get on top of this. Whatever the board decides, this or other option, I just want to get the paperwork in and start the grant process.
I like this option. I think a
do I.
I'm in agreement.
multi-purpose vehicle,
Yeah.
like I said.
This is a route we were actually this was our game plan, was initially get the rack body from you guys, and next time we had the opportunity to buy a truck, this is what we were going to present. But this is phenomenal for us, and I appreciate Cap. I had a great conversation with you on the phone, and then
Thank
all
you,
your
Randy.
information. It was great.
It was a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time talking.
I think this gives you guys the ability to do a lot more things. It's, I think this is
Extremely
the way to go.
versatile.
I agree with the mayor and the rest of the board, so I say we move forward
Still
with it.
second guessing that rack body though.
We got a steel
For metal
floor. This
pickup,
steel floor this time.
It's got a steel floor, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key to it. Make sure it has steel floor. It doesn't have a panel with the wood planks.
Yep.
Then
That-
you can do your metal pickup.
Yeah,
Just
change
afraid
the
you-
steel, 'cause it's-
I'm just
This one.
afraid you're gonna damage it
This one.
when you dump, the refrigerators and air conditioners.
It's going to get beat up a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's a work truck.
But a
work
little, a
vehicle.
10-yard box would do the same,
Sure. Yep.
and it wouldn't damage it.
So we're good to go with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think
it's
we're good.
a-
I think we,
Perfect.
we're
Great,
all in
thank you.
agreement
All
on
right,
that.
thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Paperwork tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, Marcus, it's almost like you're gonna
Good.
drive it to work.
Thanks, guys.
I know, he's so excited. He's so excited.
It's like a truck. It's like one of the toys that you just keep on throwing stuff on top of it.
Your new toy.
The next is this, this has been worked on and dealing with the state, as Marcus, Stephanie, and George know. We were going to do a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a New York State water infrastructure, a clean water funding grant, but the state is changing constantly. So, George, I don't know if you want to speak to any of this.
Yeah, George. Sure. Make sure it's your mic.
As part of the WIA grant, the village is obligated to sign an agreement. Is that better?
Yeah.
Is obligated to sign an agreement. As part of that agreement, the village has to pass a resolution committing some funds to the project, and their counsel for the DEC or the EFC, EFC runs
EFC.
WIA. They took a look at this resolution, they requested we make some changes, and now they want to have a meeting to discuss it further.
The
So,
most frustrating part, I got to say it, is we had a resolution, George and I worked on it, Stephanie worked on it, Will worked on it, sent it out, and said, oh, add this, we added that. Add this, we added that. They said, well, and they had a deadline of March 12th. I said, well, we need to get it done before the meeting. So today they said, oh, we'll give you more time, we need to have a meeting. I said, but why do you have a meeting? Why don't you just redline it and we'll make the changes? No, we prefer having a meeting. So that's what we are right now. So just to express my frustration.
And mine.
This has been going on for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's nice to get these state grants.
Yes.
But there's some drama that's involved in getting that. Also, the same with the $100,000 grant, as Marcus said. So it's nice to get these grants, but it's not a slam dunk immediately. It's a process that you have to go through. So, okay, so so hopefully we might be there at the next meeting where we can make that resolution to get that going. Yes, so we're going to hold that over and table that for now. The next is a motion to, consider a motion to appoint general foreman. So the board had interviewed 3 people. And all the candidates interviewed very well. And I feel there was one that was more qualified and more experienced for the position, in my opinion. When we interviewed, the majority of the board was there. And Anthony, I don't know if this past week, if you had an opportunity to interview the candidates. I know you were away the previous
No,
week.
I did not. I did speak to Randy on the phone, and we had a great conversation. I did not get a chance to get in touch with anybody else.
All right. I would like to make a motion at this time to appoint Randy Hesselgrave as for the highway foreman at the time of Scott Horton's retirement at a rate of $122,506. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye, and Bob? Okay.
On a question.
On a question, yes, sir.
So I will not be voting on this for the same reasons that I said last time. I did not get a chance to do the interviews. I have a very deep background in DPW work and highway restoration And I think that the questions that I would have been able to ask in the interviews would have been strategic to hiring this person. So I didn't get a chance to interview everybody. I was away. I asked for it to be extended so I could be in an interview process. I was ignored. So I feel like I shouldn't vote. I shouldn't vote. As much as I do like Randy, I didn't get a chance to talk to the other guys. So I will be withholding my vote. No, nothing against you, Randy. But I will be withholding the vote because I did not get my process of questioning was not done. And that's my take on it.
Can I comment, Mayor?
Absolutely.
I would just ask in the future, when we do go through this process, that we make these decisions as a whole board. And that when somebody can't make the interviews, that we somehow find a way to work that out.
Okay.
Because Anthony being the liaison to the highway department should have at least had access to that. But I think we hired the right guy. I feel very comfortable with Randy, but I've had to go on record and say that. That's how I feel.
Okay, so I am also going to comment on that. The majority of the board was there. Many people before in the past have Zoomed in, and I do understand you were on vacation, Anthony. Bob this evening for personal reasons, and I'm not going to get into what's going on with him personally, but Bob is online with us this evening, Zooming in. And I don't want this to appear to be rude. I don't want this to appear to be mean, but we interviewed 3 candidates. There were 3 candidates that were chosen. One was a longtime village employee who has worked his way up, who's really proven himself, has been assistant foreman when Scoot Horton, our foreman, was on vacation. And he has really over the last couple of years, like I said, really stepped up to the plate and proven himself as a leader at the department. The 2 other people, as I said, spoke well. They interviewed well, but the whole situation here is the 3 people, 2 of them are village residents, and 2 of them, most of the board members knew well. So it's not like these 3 people were strangers. These are people that are well known to many of the board members. So to make a phone call to them, like happened to Randy, to make a phone call or have a conversation with them. Anthony, I know you know the other 2 people well.
That has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but then you knew those
The process should have
people.
been done right. Doesn't matter
Well-
if I know Randy too.
Yep,
I know, and first of all 3 of them live in the village.
yes. But I'm not going to argue with you.
You know, but you don't even need to respond because you already hired them, so I don't even know why you're saying this.
All
Because you're
I
trying to
didn't do.
defend
No, I'm
the
not
decision
defending
you made
anything.
was
I'm
wrong.
not
And it was
defending
a
anything.
wrong decision. You should have just
I know I
pushed
do
it to
this one.
Tuesday like Wilda asked and Dan asked. But for some reason, you ignored my email, which is a fact because it's in all the emails. And if you would have just texted me and said, listen, I can't do it. I got a Zoom link at 4:30 on
And then
Thursday
it comes back if they miss something?
when I was in Florida. Does that seem responsible?
I said I put the original email out for Tuesday. I put the original email out for Thursday. I said the Monday before the board meeting, and I said the Tuesday before the board meeting.
And she
Most
said
of the
yes,
people
and he said
commented
yes.
on Thursday, so the majority of the board.
That's not true.
The majority of the board said Thursday. And I'm not going to be rude here.
No,
but
that's not
those
correct.
other-
That's not correct,
those-
Mayor.
Well, that's.
Mayor, I'm going to interrupt
Remember,
because that's
okay,
not correct.
fine.
I explained to you that I wasn't going to be able to be there because I was attending a continuing education course for my job. So I worked around that
Thank
and
you.
was able to get out and get up here. But I may not have been able to attend the interviews either. The problem here, okay, is not who's being hired. It's the process. You're all about transparency.
I certainly am.
Yeah.
I put it out
Okay.
there when it was going to
So
happen.
then let's be transparent.
What does that have to do with it?
So then I'm going to say this, and I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to say it because you're forcing me to say it.
Then say it.
2 of the other people were friends of yours, Anthony
Absolutely.
and Dan.
I am not denying that.
So-
and Randy's a friend. And
And then you
I
could have
just wanted
voted for
the
your friends.
process I'm not. You see, you're making this about
You're
something
you're
that
missing
it's
the
not.
point, Teresa, as
This is
the mayor.
Okay, then why did nobody
There's a process that should be
respond to me
followed.
about
Everybody
Monday?
responded.
Why did nobody respond to me about Monday or Tuesday before the board meeting? Nobody responded about Tuesday before the board meeting. That was another option.
I said Tuesday. I said it, and it's in the email.
Okay.
You totally ignored me. Now I don't even know why we're having this
apologize.
discussion because
No.
you're wrong, and we already hired Randy, so it's over.
Well, we still all in favor for hiring Randy Hesselgrave as the next foreman.
You already did that.
We just did it.
All in favor? No, I don't think we got the ayes because Anthony asked.
said
for-
aye.
Anthony asked for
Who
on a
would've said aye?
question. Anthony asked for on a question. So I just want to make sure that this is done properly.
And I just want to say, we could have this discussion maybe at executive session, but it's something we should be celebrating right now, that Randy's
and
being
I agree.
hired, and I don't want to overshadow
I just
that.
said why I wasn't voting. That's it.
No, and I understand that,
That's
and
the only
I,
reason.
4-1, Cindy. Okay. So congratulations, Randy.
congratulations, Randy.
Work for this, and you deserve it. So thank you. And Bob, thank you for zooming in. Bob, would you like to comment?
Bob, yeah.
Yes, I would. I want to see a shadow cast over this night for Randy.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with Randy for many years. He was always an upstanding guy, always going the extra mile to do whatever was asked of him. Then he was moved into the office where I was in the office. I was the foreman at the time. And knowing what he knows, I'm very comfortable with him having a job. He's a very respectful person, very well known in the community. I think that goes a long way. So, Randy, congratulations.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
And Bob, get well, get stronger, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the next. Oh, my goodness. Where did I put our little list
Okay.
here? Ah, here we go. Okay, so this is another, we are going to, the next was to consider motion to approve the volunteer firefighters that have met the required 50 points for the service award program as provided by the Village of Buchanan Fire Department. We are also going to be holding that over. We do need some more information from the Buchanan Engine Company. Okay. The next is a motion, we're going to be making, authorize an intermunicipal agreement with the town regarding shared use of equipment and bidding by town purchasing director. So this is something we have done before. This is something Linda Puglisi was a very big proponent of, shared services. And this has blossomed into many things here. So give me a minute to find all my paperwork. Oop. Okay, so I'm going to combine two resolutions. One is going to be for, one is for a purchasing director, the purchasing IMA, and one is for shared equipment. So whereas the various operating departments of the Village of Croton, Village of Buchanan, Town of Phillipstown, and City of Peekskill, and Town of Cortland have on an informal basis over the years borrowed each other's equipment, including but not limited to trucks, buses, we don't have a bus, and other vehicles and equipment. Whereas the desire of the municipalities to formalize the process by which the sharing of equipment and vehicles is carried out. Also, it is the desire of the village board to cooperate, share, and coordinate expenses and costs with the village, with the villages and town as much as possible. Whereas the villages of Croton-on-Hudson and Buchanan have utilized the town's purchasing service over many years by using town bids to purchase supplies and materials for similar purposes as the town. And George, that also includes, if we do blacktop, we could, I know Sean Murray was big with trying to get a bid in with the town with that. And whereas it is required by law that the town have an agreement with the villages to designate the town director of purchasing as purchasing agent for the villages and within Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks, they're also included, as purchasing liaison with bidding. So, now therefore be it resolved that once the reference intermunicipal agreement is executed, Buchanan's operating department heads and managers are hereby authorized to allow the use of village equipment and vehicles by the villages of Croton, Town of Cortland, Town of Phillipstown has joined in, and City of Peekskill in accordance with said agreement covering the period from the date of the executed agreement on December 31st, 2025. So, before we take a vote, Randy is still here and Scoot's still here. We shared equipment with, it was over the summertime, when you guys were doing the steps, the pool steps, and the Village of Croton gave us some equipment to use to help with doing the stairs. So this is beneficial for all communities. So if we don't have a certain piece of equipment or they don't, we share. And there are requirements with this. It's got to go out with a full tank of gas, come back with a full tank of gas. There's liability concerns that are covered. There's a whole bunch of things. So this is a benefit for the village. This is always a good thing. So so I'd like to make a motion to approve that. Can I have a second?
Second.
On a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. So the next is a motion. We're gonna call for a public hearing on April 1st regarding dog licenses and dog control. So, I have had conversations with the supervisor and we have come to some type of an agreement. We have, I think we've discussed, that the village will no longer be taking dog licenses because if we do, then we have to supply certain services. But we also still have to have some type of dog control. So the town has agreed to take that over. We had an agreement months before with them and it was $4,000 a year. So in speaking to the supervisor and also speaking to our police chief, there's only 3 to 5 times a year when we need a dog warden. We need someone. And then the dog would go to the SPCA in Briarcliff. So we can discuss this more at the workshop, what the terms are, and then we can vote on it on April 1st. And the town, I sent that to the board, the agreement that the town sent to us. And it's only as needed and $50 per hour to cover their cost. So I'd like to make a motion.
Also, everybody has a copy of the local law, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
licensing?
I just sent that.
Just want to make sure you all have it.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
The law lady.
It's too
So
much.
I-
I don't know what I send and don't anymore.
Yes, I know.
It's a
just
lot. It's a lot.
Keep
It's a
sending
lot.
those things. So I'd like to make a motion to have a public hearing on dog control on April 1st, 2025. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. What do we got next? We had a busy evening this evening here. Okay, and the next is a request of, from Buchanan Engine Number 1 regarding a letter of authority. The board will be tabling that, and we will get back to that. There's a lot of information we received this evening, and we'd like to go over it and discuss that further. So we're going to table that. Okay, so the next is information from officers and reports. Let's start with the Justice Court reports. Oh, my goodness. Where did we get all this paperwork here? Holy cow. Here we go. Okay. So, for February, $2,436. And also there's another one, January is $5,776. Police reports, Bob will not have that information with him. Let me just quickly look over this. Oh, this is interesting. Stop sign violation, there's 2. So people are getting stopped. Speed in zone 2. Equipment uninspected 9. So I just picked the things that call for service 17. Moving summonses 30. Total calls 144. Parking summonses 2. Okay, Highway Department, that's Anthony.
Household garbage, 74. This is for January of 2025, by the way. Household garbage, 74.39 tons. Bulk and dumpsters, 20.33 tons. Dumpsters only, 7.65 tons. Total garbage, 102.37 tons. E-waste, 19 monitors. Christmas trees, 103. And 3.7 tons of metal. This month, they did a lot of general maintenance on the garage, the facilities, a lot of vehicle maintenance. And And on this here, Scoot did meet with Mike Heslip from Glencoe Supply. Okay, this was on our topic with street signs here, to make sure all our street signs are up to code. And that's good, going along with our parking discussion. And that's it for highway.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so, next is building department, that is, oh no, next is wastewater, sorry, apologize. Wastewater treatment, 8 million, over 8 million gallons, sludge removal, 234,000 gallons. There was a failure on the flight gearbox, so there is different things.
That's been fixed.
That's been fixed, and then also the generator repaired on Blakely Avenue Pump Station. So that's something we have to keep on our radar to replace. Building department, let's see, building permits issued, 9. Inspection required for newly issued, 12. Inspections on file for permits and compliance, 15. COs, 11. And compliance inspections for resale or refinance. And I know the building inspector is always busy with that because there's a lot of houses that are being sold and they have to do compliance inspections. So there's 3 there. Buchanan engine, okay, this is for February. There were 9 EMS assists, 2 automatic alarms, 3 mutual aid, and 3 motor vehicle, total alarms 17. Thank you. Planning board minutes received and filed for December 18th. Zoning board received and filed for January 8th. Prosecutor's report, we have nothing this evening. Attorney's report, Stephanie Attorney, do you have anything for us this evening?
I have something for executive session, and also that I did receive the draft dog control agreement from the town this afternoon. So I'll take a look at it. They're calling for us to get permission from the agriculture markets. So I will look that up and see how to do that and get that to you as quickly as I can.
I have been in contact with the agricultural people,
And?
and they're just waiting for us to wrap that up.
Well, according to his, we need a permission from that department before we get into this,
Okay.
according to the town. I was a little surprised to see it, but, you know, we have to get permission
Yeah.
for them to control our dogs. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I just got it today.
Even, okay, even though we're going to use the town services?
That's
Okay,
what's in the agreement.
okay.
Really, I just briefly glanced at it and thought, didn't sound right, but maybe it is. What do I know about dog control?
Well, we
So I'll
learn
look it up.
something new here every day, that's for
Yep.
sure. Okay, or Marcus, what do you have for us this
A
evening?
couple quick things. I'm glad George is here too. First of all, Scott and Randy are working on getting Cook to do the street sweeping again on an annual basis. So they're trying to get proposal, get that rolling. On the wastewater treatment plant, we've had 2 surprise visits. Last week, we had the state DEC come in unannounced, and then the county came in today unannounced. Good news is, passed with flying colors, no issues, no violations, no problems, which is good news.
Nice.
And then I'll let George speak a little bit about it, but we've been notified by the state DEC that we have to have a stormwater audit of our stormwater system. So I'll let George explain a little bit what's going on.
Sure. The last time we had an audit from the DEC was 2011. From that audit, there's a number of things in the new MS4, which is this nice, big, thick booklet that was adopted last year by the village. This is the 2024 version. It has to be updated to the 2025 version. And some new things that are in this booklet. This is the Stormwater Management Program Plan. There's going to be a draft on the website of this. And the big thing that the DEC is pushing now is tracking and recording. So they want you to track and record just about everything you do. Stormwater, so we have a list of all the construction sites like AMS. There's a report done there every week by AMS engineer. We're supposed to review that. It goes into a log, and we report any kind of illicit discharges, sediment into the ponds and into the streets, and so we write all these things down, and it's big on recording, so recording all these things. And then another update that the DEC has is mapping. So we did some work this past year on mapping. We updated all our maps. We show updated in the sense it's all electronic now. And we monitor our outfalls. We also have a new annual form that will be sent to the village to sign. And that's pretty much it. And then they gave us a list of things that are pursuant to the latest permit for the village. So there's a permit that was adopted in January of 2025, and they give you a list of things that we have to comply with, and they're going to run through those things at the end of this month. So.
So more work, more paperwork.
Yeah, more
More
paperwork.
submissions.
More submission. Yeah, this is a nice, 150-page
Yeah.
document that is, the building department has to be aware of it. The highway department has to be aware of it. Actually, Scoot and Randy have been going out. And part of it is doing catch basin cleanings, inspections. So they go out there, they inspect the catch basins, they check the depth, they check it for sediment. They fill out, we have a little report they fill out, so we're doing road by road. Church Street, we did some inspections on that, we did some TVing on that to find out what's going on there. So it's more monitoring, more paperwork that the DEC wants us to keep track of and do, to be compliant with the permit.
And we like to keep the DEC happy.
Yes, so.
No.
That's it.
George,
And they do it for all the municipalities, so it's not just us that is doing this. So they just, I was told in 2011 when we were doing the audit, they start smaller municipalities and they work their way up. So since this is a new permit that was adopted in 2025, they like to find out things for the smaller, and then they go up to the bigger ones, and there's bigger problems. There's more record keeping, and books get twice as large, so it's crazy.
that's enough right there.
That's right. So.
I do want to ask you about something. I know you had sent us an email. There was a discharge into our sewer system from one of the businesses that was 3 times.
36 times.
36 times more on the suspended solids, I think it was.
Correct.
So, and that, when things like that happen, we all know that's going to affect our sewer treatment plant, because these are things that shouldn't be going into our plant. So what is going forward? I know they were only doing quarterly reports. And who manages that? Who oversees the reports that they send? Is that your
In my field wheelhouse?
Yes.
So it goes to us, and it goes to the sewage treatment plant. The sewage treatment plant was the one that took the test, and they noticed something occurring at the plant, so they went out there and they took a sample. They got the results of the sample. They followed the procedure. When you get the results back, you notify the owner of the issue, and they immediately stopped what they were doing. They found out what the issue was. Apparently, they have two containers where they do their process, dewatering, and they found that the one that they took offline, they drained it, they inspected it, it had a tear in a screen, so it's offline. It got repaired a month later, and then it was put back online.
Okay.
So that's. Everyone followed the procedures and the protocols that they should be following. It gets shut down immediately, and it gets remedied, and it gets put back online. So, and how do we prevent that in the future? Monitoring. I'm told that it's checked every week. The tanks are drained every week. The containers are drained every week, and they look at it and they inspect the screens. Maybe they can do a more thorough inspection of the screens. I don't know. But, so it could have been going on for a little bit of time before that they noticed it, but.
But George, we're talking about looking at a different piece of equipment that will monitor automatically.
Yeah, so we did talk about, so there is a piece of equipment, a monitoring piece of equipment that you can put in the outlet of this facility that will tell you instantaneously what the total suspended solids are, so that way there's no time lag. So you'd know right away, okay, there's something going on. They don't have to wait for the sewage treatment personnel to do a test, do a follow-up. So we were talking about moving forward, that would be a nice remedy. So you got to put equipment in and so forth to do that. And who pays for that should be the owner of the facility. And the owner of the facility has, I think, 3 years left on the agreement. So that would be the time to say, okay, we didn't have this technology when
No, I
it
know,
first
'cause
started.
we talked about that for years.
You know what?
And I like this
Yeah.
because it automatically give you an alert text, email immediately. But by the
Good.
time it gets to our plant, it's a little too late.
Yeah,
So
all right,
So, I
something to
mean,
look at in the future.
with any agreement, you make upgrades, as things come up. You don't know these things are going to happen. So, but when they do, you try to address them and you deal with them. So
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you for being on top of that.
you're welcome.
Okay, so where are we?
You can go now.
Yes, sir.
No, that was it.
You're
In a minute,
Marcus, you're
it was
good?
Marcus's.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I just two things, as you can see, we're very busy here in the village, there's a lot going on. I want to thank the highway department again, the shamrocks that they made look great, and I like that they're on the ground like the hearts were, so it was the highway department that had put that together last year. And also the beautification committee, they did a great job decorating out at the circle, as always. And I forgot to mention to the board last week, I'm going to be setting up with the mayor of Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow to do a site visit. It's springtime, so we'll go out, see what they've done with their properties, and it'll help us when we're doing the rezoning over at Indian Point. And that's all I have for today. Anthony, you're next.
Just a couple things. Certainty meeting, what's going on?
I had that in for executive session. For
Beautiful.
You guys to tell me what's
I
going on.
just want to make sure we're going to
There you
have,
go.
I didn't know if you were going to talk about it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, anyway, with that being said, I really don't have much. Randy, congratulations. Scoot, good luck in the future, man. Good luck. Well done. I had a pleasure working with you, and good luck with whatever direction you go. And it's getting warm out. Everybody start to enjoy the weather, and that's it. That's it.
And the time change comes this Saturday, so we have an extra hour of daylight. Looking forward to that. Is Bob still on? Bob, would you like to say anything?
No, not this time.
Okay, all right, you take care of yourself. Wilda, what do you have for us this evening?
Nothing, I just want to congratulate Randy, wish you luck. You know you can count on us if you need any help. And Scoot, enjoy retirement, it's wonderful.
I think we're going to still be seeing Scoot around.
Yeah, me too.
Dan, what do you have for us this evening?
Again, just well wishes to Scott on his retirement. We still have some celebration to do. Scott's going to be one of our co-grand marshals with his dad coming up for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which leads me into that. So the parade's on Sunday, the 16th, 2 p.m. Lineup is at 1:30 at Burke Court and Lake Street. 11 a.m. we'll have the presentation of the sashes at the firehouse with light breakfast. And then there'll be a gathering afterwards at the firehouse after the parade. And I just want to thank the beautification committee for really making the circle look beautiful. It's going to look nice for the parade. And we all wish Bobby, well wishes. That's it.
All right, thank you. Comments from the floor?
Anybody going to say anything about the election?
Oh, that's right, it's Tuesday. Thank you, Eileen.
It was in the newsletter.
Whoops. Tuesday, March
18.
18th.
6 to 9.
There you go. Thank you, Eileen.
Are you going to put it on the board?
Probably Cindy will.
On the digital,
Sharon.
it's not there already, Marcus? I thought it was there already.
I didn't see it. I just,
No, okay.
Don't forget, Cindy's leaving on Thursday.
I know
Oh,
Cindy's going on a
Cindy.
well-deserved vacation. So
Have
enjoy,
fun.
Cindy.
Enjoy your vacation, Cindy.
Cindy,
Well
come back,
deserved.
okay? Come back.
You might not. Yeah. Uh-oh.
No, don't start threatening us.
Okay, any other comments from the floor? Oh, yes. Thank you. Marcus, it's negotiations and personnel.
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Angela Outhouse, Buchanan Engine Company. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things that were confused, or maybe you were confused. The contract that Buchanan Engine Company has with the Village of Buchanan, briefly, I know I have a brief amount of time, but whereas Buchanan Engine Company renders fire protection and emergency service to all property and people within the boundaries of the Village of Buchanan, except for property located in the Verplank Fire District. Then it says, whereas the Village and Buchanan Engine Company are desirous of entering into an agreement, the Village of Buchanan desires to contract with BEC for fire protection and emergency services. Then it says, the Buchanan Engine Company at all times during the period of the contract will be subject to call for attendance upon any situation requiring fire protection and emergency services occurring in the identified areas of the village. Upon arriving at the scene of a call, the fire persons and emergency first responders attending shall proceed diligently and in every reasonable way to attend to the circumstances of the call, including saving of life and property. Failure of BEC to respond to a call when multiple calls arise or about the same time shall not constitute a breach of contract. So that's just the contract.
Is that the resolution?
This is the last contract you guys signed with us.
Is that the resolution signing it? Because I have the contract, and on the first page, it's you do this, you do this, you do this. That sounds like a resolution authorizing what we're describing your to-do.
This is our contract that we signed with you.
What year?
It says 21.
I have one for 23, but the contract itself is not like a passing
It
a
says
resolution to do all of it.
2021, June of 2021 to May 2022. This is the last thing we have.
I have one.
So maybe this is a resolution, I don't know, but this is what the resolution that we
I
have
get it.
says.
No, I get it. I just,
Okay.
it's not in the contract, but I don't know why the resolution would have said that. But in any event, we do have to talk to you guys. I mean, it'll take a minute.
Yeah.
The last one we have is 2023.
I
So
don't,
we have to. we don't have
that we,
one.
no, we don't have that. We haven't had a signed contract since that date. So.
Okay.
Are we
Okay.
supposed to have one yearly?
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to mention is Dan brought up the villages. So BLSFR status, Eastchester, Pelham Manor, Portchester, Rybrook, South Salem, Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and then you have Mohegan Lake, Goldens Bridge, Croton Falls, and Banksville. They all have a BLSFR. However, other villages that are such as this protect their residents with their own ambulance corps. And Hastings, Dobbs Ferry, Ardsley, Irvington, Croton, Scarsdale, Ossining, Sleepy Hollow, Tarrytown, Mount Kisco, all have ambulance corps in the village. So, our ambulance service shares not only Buchanan, but also covers the entire portion of the Montrose Fire District, which includes Cortlandt Manor, all the way around. And as we know, they get called, because they said they get called to mutual aid, to Peekskill, Mohegan Lake, Verplank. Oh, Verplank also has their own ambulance corps. So where the small villages have their own protection, we're sharing protection with a much larger entity, a much larger area. So that's just something I think you guys should take into consideration when you're thinking about whether or not to provide the residents with an immediate first response when there may be delays, as you can see there, and that's just mutual aid calls, that's not even the regular calls. But those are significant times. And if it's a stub toe, great. If it's a heart attack, you want a medic there by himself, maybe in 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 19 minutes in some of those? You know, I wouldn't want that for myself, and I'm sure that everybody here is a resident. We have family here. We have a lot of friends here, and I think that's something that you might want to take into consideration. I understand fiduciary responsibility, but this is a service that, whether you knew it or not, we've been doing for 35 years. And, you know, with good reason if you look at those times. And again, EMS is in crisis, and it's only going to get worse. And when you put that development in for seniors, you're going to have even more ambulance calls. So just food for thought.
You know, I'm just curious about something, Angela. You said since 1989, I believe. Could you give us a list of the EMTs, or how many you've had since then that have been with the Buchanan engine? Because now, within this last year or so, you have, what's the total today?
We have 12.
You have 12. So, but over the years, how many EMTs
Well,
have you had?
there were more that are no longer there.
Okay.
So there were other EMTs that are now not even active members anymore, but there were EMTs all along. So we will try to get that for you.
Okay, that would be
Okay.
great. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a
yes.
hand raised.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Hello, Mary, you can speak if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, read out house. Sorry about the tag on the Zoom call, Marcus. I had a
Okay.
separate meeting today
No
with some
problem.
family members, so we had all our names in there. Read Outhouse, Westchester Avenue. Not here to contribute to the invasion of the outhouses in the meeting tonight. It's kind of a separate issue. It was something that came up. It just happens to coincide with the fire department being there for this other issue. But I had a family member, elderly family member, last month, actually 2 months ago, would have been January, called the fire department, called 911 because she had a detector going off in her house. Fire department responded. I think the PD responded. They interpreted, I think, as possibly a gas call or a CO call. So the ambulance was dispatched as well. So she called for the fire department, and she got the three agencies, which is typical for that type of response. Just recently, and she's elderly. She's on a limited, income, like most of our residents. So she got a bill in the mail from CBAC, and it's for $250. And, as you can imagine, when she was a little bit panicked about that, so she brought it over to me, and of course, everybody knows I was a deputy chief and still a member of the fire department, all that, just not involved as much as I used to be anymore. So I looked at it and I said, okay, what is this all about? I know that the agencies do, I don't know if the board is familiar with it, they do what they call soft billing. So if you're in a car accident, and they transport you, you'll get a bill, and they enclose in that bill information so you can fill out, and they bill your insurance company. So soft billing, from my interpretation, is that we're not going to bill you, the resident, but we're going to try to bill your insurance company for the costs associated with transporting you to the hospital and the care. If they don't get anything out of it, then they usually don't come after the resident. That's why they call it soft billing. We'll see if we get the insurance company to pay. If they don't, I guess they just deal with that. This circumstance is a little bit different, though, because she was not transported because she didn't have an issue. She called because the smoke detector went off. They did take her vitals and just do a basic assessment, and they left. Thankfully, it was a defective detector and there was no issue. I called the billing company and I inquired about it. And basically what they said is, and it says on the bill in big red letters, which, when you're 84 years old, it says the unpaid balance represents your responsibility. So, of course, she started freaking out. So I called the billing company and I said, what's this all about? And she said, oh, it was for services rendered. It was for, and I said, but she didn't get transported or anything. So she said, no, I have the report here. They took her vitals and that's what they did. So my question is, and my issue is, I just want, maybe you guys can just look into it, but I did want to bring it up in a public meeting because if anybody's getting these bills, they may not have a family member like me who could maybe, question it. They may just be scared into paying it because they're afraid it's going to go to collections and that kind of thing. My issue is we're all paying a separate tax on our bill for the ambulance district. Why are we getting a $250 bill for basic services which they're required to pay, which they're required to provide? So I don't know what this is all about. We're not going to pay it till we figure out what's going on. But I don't know why a resident would be getting this kind of bill. And then it of course brings up how many other residents are getting these bills or have gotten the bill, and they don't know what to do, and they figure, oh, I got to pay it. And then where does this money go? Where does, I thought the tax money took care of that. So maybe you guys can just look into that, and maybe next meeting, obviously it's not a emergency pressing issue, but if anybody has any answers on that now, or if you can get some answers on that. And again, it just happened, and I don't know much about it, so just putting it out there. Maybe you could just follow up a little bit with that.
All right, Reed, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
We'll look into it and we'll announce it
Okay,
at the next.
appreciate it. And if you need a copy of it, I can screenshot it and send it to the board or Marcus. But just let me know. Sorry, I couldn't be at the meeting tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Reed.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, you
Too.
too.
Thank
You too.
Bye.
Okay, if there's no other comments from the floor, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and negotiations. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and have a great Buchanan day.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Leave everything.